What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review SmackDown from September 3rd, 2021, coming to us from Jacksonville, Florida. Of course, this is AEW's home turf in my view because they're in Jacksonville. But what are my overall thoughts on this show? Of course, this is somewhat of a build-up, I should say, for next week's show, because next week's SmackDown is gonna be in Madison Square Garden, and Madison Square Garden is WWE's home turf, and I'm really excited to see what goes down in that show next week. But what about this week? I thought this week was a really good episode of SmackDown. Well, not really that good. There were some problems with it, in my opinion, but overall, it was not that bad of a show, in my view. Of course, we had the main event with Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns, a match that I would have deemed a WrestleMania main event caliber match, in my opinion, considering the fact that I've stated earlier on my SmackDown reviews that Balor should be booked strong for the rest of the year and eventually win the Royal Rumble and face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Of course, that is probably not going to happen considering the fact that WWE has a match with Roman Reigns and The Rock planned at WrestleMania most likely next year, but I would have that match at the Royal Rumble to save it for Finn Balor if I was WWE. That's just my opinion. But overall thoughts on this show, I thought this was a pretty good show. Of course, Brock Lesnar, of course, made his return at SummerSlam. He's going to be making his return to television next week on SmackDown. Let's be honest, SmackDown is by far the A show. Raw is pretty garbage. And I actually missed the last 2 weeks of Raw because of, my schedule and all that stuff, but Raw hasn't changed at all. Of course, we had that whole thing with Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair. Of course, that whole botch. A lot of people were calling it a shoot. Maybe it's a work shoot. Who knows? But this is SmackDown. I'll talk about Raw on my Raw reviews. I'm going to be back uploading Raw reviews this coming Tuesday, so be on the lookout for those videos. But what about SmackDown? The show starts with the Usos versus the Street Profits in a match that I thought, was really good from what I have seen, but I just hated the finish. And this happens all the time on WWE programming. We see constantly DQ finishes, and we need to stop with that. DQ finishes are just ridiculous. Why do you have to have a DQ finish on every match that is so good? There's a lot of intensity later on in the match and you're getting pumped up for the match. All of a sudden the match ends in a freaking DQ. I mean, you basically ruin the whole vibe, in my opinion. But overall thoughts on this match, besides the stupid DQ finish, I thought this match was not bad at all. Of course, Montez Ford is the MVP of this whole match, considering the fact that Montez Ford is the MVP, in my opinion, of the Street Profits. Nothing against Angelo Dawkins. I think Angelo Dawkins is great. I just think that Montez Ford is amazing at what he does, and the way he wrestles is really good. But let's talk about the match. Of course, the Usos cut a promo before the match. They say that the bloodline is now in your city. Jimmy says that last week he was thinking about why the Street Profits were thinking about sticking their nose in family business. Jay states that they disrespected the head of the table. And then the Street Profits come out. They cut a promo, talk smack on the Usos. And then the match starts. So the two competitors that start this match is, of course, well, not of course, I shouldn't say, Jimmy and Angelo Dawkins start this match. Both lock up. We get a shoulder tackle by Jimmy Uso. We get a drop kick by Dawkins. Sends Jimmy to the corner of the ring. My apologies. We get a back elbow by Dawkins as well. Ford tags in. We get a drop kick by Ford on both Usos. Ford proceeds to hit a crossbody on the Usos, but the Usos catch him and send him to the barricade, and then we go to commercial break after that. Once we're back from break, Jimmy works on Ford with a side headlock. We get an enziguri by Montez Ford. Then we get a tag by Jey Uso. After that, he takes out Angelo Dawkins. He sends Ford into the corner. Jay runs into the post. Then the hot tag is made by both teams. After that, Dawkins and Jimmy Uso fight it out. Then we get a Samoan drop by Jimmy Uso. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Jimmy then goes for the hip attack on Angelo Dawkins into the corner. Jay tags in. Jimmy and Jay work on Dawkins on the top. Dawkins fights back, then proceeds to take out Jay. Then after that, sends Jimmy to the mat. Then Jimmy hits an enziguri after that. Montez Ford tags in after that. Then we get a spine buster by Angelo Dawkins. Then we get a beautiful, and I mean a really nice alternate version of a frog splash by Montez Ford. Again, Montez Ford is great at what he does. We get a cover and a near fall. Jimmy then sends Ford to each turnbuckle. What happens? The match ends in a freaking DQ by Jimmy Uso, of course, repeatedly sending Montez Ford to the turnbuckle constantly. So the ref had to ring the bell, which I thought was a dumb finish. I mean, this match could have had a clean finish, and if you ask me, if I wouldn't mind if the Usos won clean. In my opinion, I mean, they are the tag team champions, but championships don't really matter on WWE programming. But I will say, besides the stupid ass DQ finish, I thought this match was pretty good. Again, Montez Ford looked great. Everybody looked great in this match, and I wouldn't be surprised if they would put this match at a pay-per-view or maybe on a future episode of SmackDown. We got Roman Reigns backstage with Paul Heyman. Of course, Roman Reigns is going to be facing Finn Balor. Well, he did face Finn Balor already in a really fantastic match, I should say. I mean, the match was amazing. There were some times in the match, and I'll talk about this later on in the review, that I thought Finn Balor was actually going to win the match. And even though that wouldn't make sense considering the fact that they're booking Roman Reigns extremely strong right now, I wouldn't be against it considering the fact that I've been a fan of Finn Balor for a long period of time. But who knows? Maybe that's just my fandom getting to me. But I legitimately thought that Finn Balor is actually going to beat Roman Reigns. Yeah, I know, surprisingly. But what happened in this backstage segment? I'll talk about this amazing match later on. Definitely match of the week, in my opinion. Roman, he asks Heyman to bring in his cousins, and that's that. Of course, then we get a backstage interview with Kayla Braxton. And in this interview with Kayla Braxton, I feel like Kayla Braxton is starting to become some sort of a character. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way she was interacting with Paul Heyman, especially, of course, they are partners on Talking Smack, which I do not watch Talking Smack, I will say that. But, Kayla Braxton, I feel like in this case, she's starting to become more of a character. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, and most likely 99% sure I may be wrong. But what happened here? This was a hilarious backstage segment, in my opinion. So Kayla Braxton scares the shit out of Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman just jumped to his guns. And Heyman, I love the way he loves making fun of shit like this, because this always happens on WWE programming, especially now, with where the wrestler's just walking by and then he ever just comes in out of nowhere. So Paul's like, what the hell? All that stuff. So, Kayla Braxton's just asking him a certain question, and Paul Heyman tries to give the answer, but what happens? Paul Heyman's phone rings, and what is the ringtone? It's Brock Lesnar's theme music. So there's a lot of tension going on now, and Paul Heyman's starting to become a little freaked out. And then after that, he tries to continue to cut his promo, but then gets the ringtone again, and then eventually it's most likely Brock Lesnar. Who knows what it is? He explains it later on in a later backstage segment with Roman Reigns. And then what happens? Paul Heyman all of a sudden runs into someone dressed like a garbage man. Eventually, it's Big E, and of course, Big E does his typical Big E trolling with the whole Money in the Bank briefcase and laughing hysterically, which was the funniest shit ever. I enjoyed this segment, I will say. And, I always say that WWE segments can be cringe when it comes to the over-scripted promos, but Paul Heyman, you don't need a script for Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman, you can listen to him and he's not scripted at all. But this segment, I will say, I really enjoyed. This is a really good segment to watch, in my opinion. So they're probably teasing maybe a match with Roman Reigns and Big E. I do not think Big E is the one to take the Universal Championship off of Roman Reigns, considering the fact that I think he's going to take the belt off of Bobby Lashley, because most likely, I mean, Goldberg and Bobby Lashley are definitely going to be having a rematch at the Saudi Arabia show. Is Goldberg going over? Who knows? But knowing WWE, they probably put the belt on Goldberg. Do I think that's a dumb booking decision? Absolutely. But the most logical choice to make is for Big E to get drafted to Raw, because keep in mind, WWE does have a draft coming up. We do not know when. I do believe it's in October, which is the worst time for a WWE draft, in my opinion, considering the fact that, you know, the draft should be held always after WrestleMania, not before Survivor Series, because then if you want to do Survivor Series, you're going to have to do Raw versus SmackDown with completely new rosters that are only a month old, and that wouldn't make any sense. If you have the draft after WrestleMania, it basically sets the tone for what your brands are going to be come November. But hey, that's WWE for you. But I do believe that Big E is most likely going to get drafted to Raw. I do not see Big E beating Roman for the Universal title. I definitely do think he's most likely going to be cashing in on Bobby Lashley. But after that, we get a segment with Becky Lynch. Of course, Becky Lynch made a return at SummerSlam and basically squashed. Yes, I said it, squashed Bianca Belair, and they basically buried Bianca Belair, and it made Bianca Belair look absolutely stupid, in my opinion, considering the fact that Bianca Belair is a babyface, and then there's reports saying that Becky Lynch is reportedly a heel, but I think that's the dumbest thing because of the fact of the reaction that she got at SummerSlam, in my opinion. So why is she a heel? I do not know why, but it is what it is. Personally, I'd keep her as a babyface, in my opinion. The fact that we had the triple threat match be really good, and the match with Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch did not even last a whole minute, is mind-boggling to me. I mean, if there was one match that I wanted to like end extremely like quickly, it was that triple threat match, because I did not care about the triple threat match, and I thought the build for that triple threat match was really stupid. But you know, the Becky, I mean, Sasha Banks, of course, did not. She no-showed the match, and you know, they replaced her for Becky. They replaced Sasha Banks for Becky Lynch, and they could have had an amazing freaking match with Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. They would have absolutely killed it on pay-per-view at SummerSlam, but they didn't do it because they were extremely lazy. In my opinion, that is stupid-ass booking. It's stupidity on WWE's part. That's my opinion. But she is over in this particular segment, and it kind of confuses me whether if she is a babyface or a heel. But at the end of the segment, of course, she is a heel. Of course, you know, with Bianca Belair like talking smack, basically verbally burying Becky Lynch. So it says that she says that the man has come to Jacksonville. It says last week she walked into the ring with no "you deserve a chance." Then she gets "you deserve a chance" in Jacksonville after that. Then she did not get to talk about Bianca Belair. Proceeds to put over Bianca Belair after that. Says that she's the only woman other than herself to win the main event of WrestleMania, which I was there, by the way. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair was an amazing-ass match, in my opinion. Then she says that she's being portrayed as the bad guy, and said her return saved her match at SummerSlam. Then she says that she's been preparing to get her title since the moment that she left. This says Bianca was not ready, and says that she can't fake experience. Then all it took was a flip of her fist to her face, and basically ended her title reign. Bianca Belair after that comes out and says that the championship was more important than the title. Says the moment at SummerSlam keeps replaying in her head over and over again. Says the moment was lost in 26 seconds, which I thought WWE be doing that all the time, bro. And it makes the title less important. Like, I don't know why they do that type of stuff. It's just stupid booking, in my opinion. Says she will never make excuses for herself, and when she takes Becky's title, she will be known as the greatest. Well, no, she says that she is the strongest and fastest rising superstar, and then once she beats Becky for the title, she will become the greatest, which was an awesome promo by Bianca Belair. Of course, Bianca Belair is a really good promo, and she's a tremendous wrestler, in my opinion. Becky says that she does not give a... And then, no. After that, Belair says that she should do the same thing on what Rome is doing, that is defending her title tonight. And then Becky says that she does not give a damn what Roman Reigns does, and her answer is no, and then Becky Lynch leaves. So that was a heel tactic right there. Becky Lynch is definitely a heel now. When are we going to be getting this match? I mean, they did announce later on in the show that Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair were going to be fighting at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, which, first off, why do you still have an Extreme Rules pay-per-view? I mean, Extreme Rules, there's nothing extreme about that show, in my opinion. There was just a little piece of hair hanging. But there's nothing extreme about that show, in my opinion. Like, absolutely nothing extreme about that show. If you want to make Extreme Rules extreme, maybe you can book that show at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Now, that's extreme, but it is what it is. We get Ziggler and Rude, as Pat McAfee likes to call them, the Dirty Dogs. Which, by the way, Pat McAfee is not on this show because he's been tested positive for COVID-19, but he's gonna be coming back next week, so that's gonna be awesome to see because it sucks not having Pat McAfee on SmackDown because I feel like having Michael Cole and Michael Cole was on the show, but it was Corey Graves that took over for Pat McAfee, I believe, on last week's show and on this week's show, but. Having Pat McAfee on the commentary desk really brings new life, in my opinion, to SmackDown, and it really gives SmackDown its own identity, mainly because of the commentary team. Like, SmackDown booking-wise is exactly the same as Raw, but, at least there's some sort, I should say, of a difference when it comes to the commentary team, because the commentary team on Raw is garbage. Absolutely terrible. I do not like the commentary team on Raw. They really need to switch that up. First, they went with Adnan Virk, who was absolutely terrible. He was garbage. And you had Jimmy Smith, who is an improvement from Adnan Virk, but let's be straight up. I mean, he sounds like a guy from a toy commercial, like a guy like doing the voiceover for like a certain toy commercial. That's my view on Jimmy Smith. Now, he's not bad. That's just how I view Jimmy Smith. But I'll explain that later on when I cover Raw. But, so Ziggler and Rude are backstage, and Ziggler meets up with Toni Storm. We haven't seen her in a while. And he asks to check out her match. And then Toni says that it'd be great, but she is rooting for Rick Boogs. So we got Rick Boogs versus Dolph Ziggler. This was a really quick match. This was not a match that was really going to be, there's not going to last long at all. The thing I didn't like, of course, and of course it was, WWE couldn't control, of course, is Pat McAfee not reacting with Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura when they did their entrance. That is one of the highlights of SmackDown every week, in my opinion. Just the way Pat McAfee just marked the hell out for Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura. Just epic, in my opinion, but it is what it is. But the match starts, so we got Rick Boogs versus Dolph Ziggler. We get technical wrestling by both. Boogs picks up Ziggler, then drops Ziggler. Then we get a kick by Rick Boogs after that. Ziggler catches Boogs. Then Ziggler proceeds to hit a DDT. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Ziggler wants to go for the super kick, but Boogs counters into a tornado slam. We get a cover, and Rick Boogs wins the match. Again, this was a really quick match on the show. Not really that special. I do assume that we're probably going to be getting a match with Rick Boogs and Bobby Roode, or Shinsuke Nakamura versus Bobby Roode, and then the rules are going to be reversed the next couple of weeks. That's just my opinion. We got Becky Lynch backstage. Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce come in and say that the match with Bianca will happen at Extreme Rules, and the contract is going to happen next week on SmackDown in Madison Square Garden. So that's going to be great to see, in my opinion. I think the match is going to be really good. Hopefully it does not last less than a minute, but who knows what can happen. I mean, WWE can book this any way they want. Really, they don't give a damn about what you want. That's just my view on WWE, and that's almost everybody's view on WWE. They don't give a damn about what you want. All right. Here's one match that I really enjoyed this match. This match was really good, but the only problem, there's actually two problems with this. Number one, we've seen this match like over 10 times already. Like, I've seen this at WrestleMania. I've seen this multiple times on pay-per-views and on SmackDown. So what's the point about booking this match again? There's really absolutely no point in booking this match on SmackDown. We've seen these guys wrestle over and over and over again. What the hell is the point? And the other reason as to why, the other problem with this is the fact that this match ended in a DQ. Again, this is our second DQ of the night. Why are you doing DQ finishes on television? You're basically treating television, yes, they're supposed to be for your pay-per-views, but at the same time, you want to have good matches. And this was a good match, but the fact that it ended in a stupid DQ You got to stop with that type of booking because it drives the viewer away. Stop with those DQ finishes, man. That is typical WWE booking. They have nothing else on the plate. They book a match that we've seen already like 10 fucking times, and then they end that match that is getting a lot of intensity in a DQ on television. Like, they got to stop doing that, in my opinion. But yeah, we got a backstage interview before the match with Cesaro with Seth Rollins. He says he requested this match tonight because tonight is a new beginning. Says he wants to. He watched his match with Edge back, which by the way was an amazing match. He says he found what led him to Edge's victory at SummerSlam, and he's going to use that victory. That he's going to basically use that inspiration to beat Cesaro. So the match starts. Both lock up. We get a tilt-a-world backbreaker by Cesaro. Cesaro with an uppercut on Rollins on the outside. After that, both are back in the ring. We get a dropkick by Rollins. Then we get a couple of chops by Rollins on Cesaro. Then after that, we get a dropkick by Cesaro on Rollins. Then he tries to apply the Cesaro swing, but Rollins escapes after that. Cesaro with the uppercut. Rollins is... Then basically Rollins proceeds to hit the execution. So he's throughout this whole match he's been hitting a lot of Edge's maneuvers right here. We get a cover into a near fall. Once we're back from commercial break, Rollins takes Cesaro face first to the turnbuckle. Rollins is on the top. Then Cesaro hits an uppercut on Rollins. Both are on the top. Then Rollins catches Cesaro. Then Rollins proceeds to hit a buckle bomb, of course, on Cesaro. I mean, Seth Rollins is synonymous with that fucking buckle bomb. He'd be injuring a lot of people with that as well, especially a couple years ago. We got to cover into a near fall. Rollins tries to hit the neck breaker. Cesaro tries to go for the backslide, but then Rollins proceeds to hit the Edge-O-Matic, which, bro, again, another Edge move. He hits the Edge-O-Matic. We got to cover into a near fall. Rollins tries to go for the stomp, but Cesaro hits a powerbomb instead. We get a cover into a near fall. Cesaro fights off Rollins. Then Cesaro proceeds to hit an uppercut. Then hits a clothesline on Rollins. We get a cover and a near fall. Cesaro tries to go for the Cesaro swing, but then Rollins rolls him up. We get a near fall. Cesaro catches Rollins. The Cesaro with the swing. Tries to apply the sharpshooter, but Rollins gets his hand on the bottom rope. But then it gets taken out on the outside. Then Cesaro tries to hit the uppercut, but on the outside, by the way. But Rollins blocks the uppercut with the chair and causes a DQ. So Rollins, after the match, attacks Cesaro with the chair. Rollins then takes the bar of the chair, then applies the crossface, just like Edge, onto the chair. Rollins then hits the curve stomp on Cesaro. Then he proceeds to take out two chairs from the bottom of the ring, and it looked like he was about to go for the concerto, but what happens? Edge's music plays, Edge comes out for the save, and Rollins retreats, and that was that. Overall thoughts on this? Again, this was a really good match that did not have to end in a DQ, but at the same time, how many times have we seen this match? It makes absolutely no sense for WWE to book this match, even though we've seen it multiple times. I mean, that's one of the problems with modern-day WWE is that there's constant rematches week by week by week. It sometimes seems like you're watching the same show every week, and that's not a good thing, in my opinion. And we see this all the time on Raw, and like that's one of the reasons why Raw as a show absolutely sucks, because of the constant rematches and the garbage booking. It's really, I don't even want to call it garbage booking, it's just lazy booking, because they have no new ideas, in my opinion, but it is what it is. Reigns is backstage with the Usos and Heyman, then proceeds to talk to Paul Heyman. Heyman says that he has a problem and says that Brock Lesnar will be in Madison Square Garden next Friday night. Then Reigns says that that's Heyman's problem. That's your problem. So Reigns doesn't really give a shit. Then he says that he's going to smash Balor, and Reigns asks Heyman, what if he's here tonight? And then Heyman just looks at him like, uh-oh, I fucked up. Now, we didn't get Brock Lesnar coming back, of course. They announced that he was going to be back next week, so that basically gives your whole answer right there. But this whole thing with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, I'm really starting to be interested on what's going to happen because of the fact that it's Brock fucking Lesnar and Paul Heyman's like stuck in the middle of it. A lot of people are saying that Paul Heyman's going to be turning on Roman Reigns, which I do not think that's the case. And if they do that, they're probably going to swerve us all, because this whole heel run with Roman Reigns is absolutely money. And there were rumors of WWE wanting to turn Roman Reigns back babyface, but I wouldn't do that. I'd keep him as a heel because of the fact that Roman Reigns as a heel is money. And when he's on the mic, he's much better on the mic when he's a heel than a babyface. And I do not see any reason as to why WWE should turn him back babyface. That's just my view on things, but it is what it is. We got a backstage interview with Edge. Says he hoped that this war was over, and says that he knows the game that Seth Rollins is playing. It needs to stop because it will, and then proceeds to challenge Rollins for a match next week in Madison Square Garden. Overall thoughts on this, I think this is going to be awesome. They absolutely killed it at SummerSlam, and I do believe that this match will go maybe like 2 or 3 commercial breaks. This match is going to be really good to see, especially in Madison Square Garden. I mean, the last time the WWE was in Madison Square Garden for a TV taping was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago on, I think it was September of 2019. No, October of 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be awesome seeing WWE back in MSG because that's WWE's home turf, in my opinion. Of course, then later on a couple days, AEW is going to be in the Prudential Center. And then the next week, they're going to be in New York for the Arthur Ashe Stadium show for Dynamite Grand Slam, which is going to be amazing. But enough of me talking about that. It's going to be awesome seeing the return of Brock Lesnar and Edge versus Seth Rollins next week inside Madison Square Garden. It's going to be an amazing show. I can't wait to watch it on television. It's going to be amazing to see what goes down in that show. But, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. We got the Kevin Owens show with Happy Corbin. So Corbin is now rich. Once again, he ain't no longer homeless. And, Pat McAfee doesn't get to call him broke-ass Baron Corbin anymore. Pat McAfee on commentary calling Baron Corbin broke-ass Baron Corbin was one of the funniest things I've ever heard Pat McAfee say. But Corbin is happy as hell. He proceeds to thank Owens and basically says that he has a special guest. And that special guest is Logan Paul. Then, Owens, Logan Paul, Corbin just proceeds to talk about Logan Paul, blah, blah, blah. Personally, I do not give a shit, but he just proceeds to talk about Logan Paul, puts him over. Logan Paul's on the mic, says, congratulates his brother on his win on his last boxing match, which, wink, wink, or whatever. I don't care about Jake Paul regardless. Owens then proceeds to go rampant on Corbin and then Logan Paul. And then Owens says that Logan should never show up in WWE again. Then both Kevin Owens and Logan Paul are about to square up. But what happens? Corbin with the cheap shot. Then Paul gives him the $100 and they leave. So this is not going to be the last of Logan Paul on WWE television. I guarantee you that. But, hey, I'm more invested in CM Punk and AEW than I am with Logan Paul and WWE. That's just my opinion. First he was on Raw, and now he's on SmackDown. Great. Who knows? Maybe this can lead to a match with, Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, because they really did. I mean, he did stunner Logan Paul at WrestleMania, so, whatever. But, oh, well. We got Dominic versus Sami Zayn in a rematch. Yes, we had this match last week. Now, granted, I didn't give you guys my SmackDown review because I missed it, but I looked it up. They did have a match, and Dominic lost. So the match starts. Both lock up. We got a couple of wrist lock switches. We got a takedown by Zayn. We got a cover and a near fall. We got a clothesline by Zayn. Zayn with a couple of kicks after that. Dominic then proceeds to hit a Hurricane Rana. He tries to go for the 619, but Sami Zayn escapes. Then Ray tries to go for the distraction. Then Dominic, while Sami Zayn is distracted, proceeds to hit a somersault on Zayn on the outside. Then Dominic just goes crazy at his father saying, yo, I got it, just acting all happy and stuff. And what happens? He gets distracted. Dominic gets hit with the haluva kick by Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn wins the match. What are they going to be doing with Dominic? I do not know. A lot of people say that he should have went to NXT, which I do agree. I do not understand why they had to put him directly to the main roster, but it is what it is. But it's like a common term on my channel. It is what it is. The hell. but again, where does this lead to? I do not know. A lot of people are saying a Dominic heel turn, which I don't think it's going to eventually be leading to a heel turn in my view, but a lot of people say Dominic should really break out on his own, and I agree. I think he should break out on his own, but who knows what can happen when it comes to Dominic Mysterio. I do not see Dominic turning heel anytime soon. That's just my opinion. I do believe that, if you want to really make Dominic as a heel, I think you should not have his promos be scripted like he is as a babyface, because I think, his promos really do sound scripted, and you can tell he's reading off a script. And if you want to turn him heel and make him as a legit heel, and this is just me far-fetching, they probably most likely will not do this, but this is just an assumption. If they do turn Dominic heel, I would assume they would stop scripting him, or who knows, but I'm not really that big of a fan of his promos. That's just me. But he may improve in the near future, but he's a really good wrestler, I will say that. Now we got the main event, of course. We got Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns. So Finn Balor, we get a backstage interview with Finn Balor. Says he's constantly asked what would have happened if he did not get injured in 2016. Of course, back in 2016 at SummerSlam, which was my very first wrestling event that I attended. SummerSlam 2016 at the Barclays Center. Of course, it was Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the Universal Championship, for the very first Universal Championship. Of course, I remember when they revealed the Universal Championship, everybody in the Barclays Center just went rampant and just shit on the entire belt during the entirety of the match. That was the funniest thing ever. But of course, Finn Balor won it. I was extremely happy, but it sucked that Finn Balor had a shoulder injury, and he eventually had to relinquish it the next night. But he says that tonight he will answer all of those questions. And then, once Finn Balor makes his entrance to the ring, the Usos proceed to attack Finn Balor after that. So, by this point, when they did the attack on Finn Balor, I had that assumption, and I tweeted this out. I had that assumption that, if they do, because we've seen this all the time. We've seen this in many different title situations on television. If they proceed to attack the babyface, who is the challenger, most likely, maybe 95% sure the challenger will win the title. But this wasn't the case. So that was basically just me far-fetching right there. But, again, I stated this earlier in this review. Even though it doesn't make any sense, I kind of wouldn't mind if Finn Balor won the Universal title. That is just me, mainly because I'm just a fan of Finn Balor. But, aren't we all fans of Finn Balor? So, at the same time, it kind of wouldn't make sense. And then it would make Reigns look a little weaker, but then it would have Reigns focused on the match, most likely with Brock Lesnar. When that match is going to be happening, a lot of people are going to be saying Extreme Rules. A lot of people are going to be saying Survivor Series. I would have booked that match for Survivor Series, in my opinion, but that's not going to be happening. Of course, Survivor Series is going to be in Brooklyn this November, so that's going to be a great show, in my opinion. But the match starts. So one thing I'm going to say about this match is this match was amazing, and these guys always had good chemistry with one another. One of their matches that I can recall was the first match, their first match on Raw, of course, after the 2016 draft, in which we saw Roman Reigns and Finn Balor win their respective fatal four-way matches. And basically, Balor beat Roman Reigns clean, and I was extremely happy. I believe that was on Balor's birthday, correct me if I'm wrong. But that was an amazing match. And, of course, they wrestled later on throughout the years, and, this match is no different. Again, I have that, assumption that this should be the main event of next year's WrestleMania because it makes the perfect sense. Maybe you can have Finn Balor lose, in which he did build Balor up, and then once he wins the Rumble, you can maybe tell the story of him unleashing the demon once again and beating Roman Reigns. He's basically your Sting to your Hollywood Hogan. The only difference is that WWE actually does it right and doesn't fuck it up like WCW did in Starrcade 97. That's just me far-fetching, but I'm just being 100% honest here. But let's talk about the match. Again, this match had me mark the fuck out, especially near the end, bro. I was legitimately, on my feet in this match. I had, literally, a part of me was, legit, thinking, dude, Balor is winning the title tonight, but instead he did not, which sucked. But whatever, Roman still has the belt. That's great. But this match was amazing. And again, most likely they're going to be having a rematch at Extreme Rules, but which would be great. They're going to they're going to work a really good match, but just build Balor strong for the rest of the year. You got your guy and just put him in the main event of WrestleMania. A lot of people do not see Finn Balor being the guy to take the belt off of Roman Reigns, but I do. I genuinely do, because of the fact that, they've wrestled before and Balor has beat him clean. He beat him clean before Like, you could just play off that story. Now, granted, they did have matches after that in which I believe Roman Reigns won. I got to watch those matches again. But come on, man. Just play off that story from that first match that they had and basically telling the story that, yeah, I beat you clean and I can beat you again. Like, literally, play off that story. But I don't know, man. That is just me basically just doing fantasy booking. And when it comes to fantasy booking, all hell breaks loose. That's just me. But the match starts. Reigns throws Balor across the ring. Reigns proceeds to work on Balor. Reigns with a clothesline in the corner. Then Reigns with a shotgun. No. Balor with a shotgun dropkick on the knee of Reigns. Balor with the kicks on Reigns after that. Then Reigns proceeds to hit a headbutt on Finn Balor. Balor then hits a sling blade after that. Reigns with the right hand, then proceeds to plant Balor onto the mat. We get a cover and a near fall. Reigns then misses a Superman punch back from break. Balor with a couple of chops, then he's starting to gain the momentum. We get an overhead Pele kick by Balor, so he pulled an AJ Styles right there. Both fight it out. Reigns tries to go for a powerbomb, but Balor counters with a stomp to the chest of Reigns. Balor with a kick and sends Reigns to the outside. Balor uses the apron and proceeds to work on Reigns on the outside while Reigns is stuck on the apron. Then Balor then hits a somersault on Reigns on the outside. Balor comes to the top. He misses the coup de grace. Then after that, we get a Superman punch by Reigns. We get a cover, and then we get a close-ass near fall after that, bro. I thought it was over. I was like, thank God. You know, I was marking my ass out. Reigns tries to go for the spear, but misses after that. We get a roll up by Balor, but then we get a near fall. Plants Reigns to the mat. We get a cover and a near fall. Then after this was the moment where I thought he was actually going to win. Balor hits the dropkick and then goes to the top and he finally hits the coup de grace, and the crowd was amped up, and you can tell by the reaction of the crowd they legitimately thought that Balor was actually going to be winning this match, but he did not. So he hits the coup de grace and we got a cover, and bro, I thought the referee hit 3, but it did not. It was a near fall. Reigns then goes for the repeated rights, and what happens? He tries to lock the guillotine. Balor tries at first to escape the guillotine submission, but that proceeds to not happen. What happens? Reigns gets the guillotine fully locked. Balor passes out. Reigns wins the match. Roman Reigns retains the Universal Championship. Overall thoughts on this match. What can I say about this match? This match could easily be the match of the year. And this is a television match. This did not even happen on a pay-per-view. Like, you know, the match with Roman Reigns and Cesaro at Backlash was really good. That was an amazing-ass match. Of course, you know, the best matches of the year could possibly be Reigns versus Cesaro, Seth Rollins versus Edge, John Cena versus Roman Reigns. I mean, the majority of those matches are matches with Roman Reigns. But, I mean, this match with Finn Balor was really good, in my opinion. I mean, there's absolutely no reason as to why this match shouldn't be in the main event of WrestleMania. I mean, this has to be the main event of WrestleMania. Just book. I'm begging you, WWE, book Balor strong for the rest of the freaking year up till February, because there were reports that the Royal Rumble was going to be in February instead of January. But, I mean, just book Balor strong. You got your guy, but most likely they're not going to be doing that because of the fact that they have plans with Roman Reigns versus The Rock, which I'm definitely excited for. I'm excited to see The Rock wrestle again. But I mean, instead of booking that match for WrestleMania, I'd actually book that match for the Royal Rumble. And then, you know, you can have that story of Roman Reigns just annihilates everybody. He annihilated guys like Brock Lesnar, guys like, you know, The Undertaker a couple of years ago, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan. He sent him to Jacksonville, all that stuff, and then he beat The Rock. And who do they got left? And, you know, it looked like, you know, oh, I beat Balor, but Balor wins the Royal Rumble, and then, you know, you could build that story of Balor unleashing the whole demon gimmick, and then you could play it off there. Literally, you can have Finn Balor be your Sting to your Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Roman Reigns is your Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and Finn Balor is your Sting. The only difference, and I stated this before in this review, the only difference is that most likely WWE would not fuck it up like WCW fucked it up at Starrcade. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, play it off. I think it'd be a really good conclusion to the whole head of the table storyline, in my view. That's what I believe, but that's just me fantasy booking stuff. Of course, we still got matches with Lesnar happening. Most likely, Roman Reigns is going to be feuding with Seth Rollins in the near future, maybe for the rest of the year. Who knows? But there's a lot of scenarios that you could play off this and just have fun with it. But knowing WWE, they'd probably mess it up, but I do believe that, maybe Heyman, I think he does have a little bit of play in it, but, come on, it all depends on the booking, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's how I would book it, and I know a lot of people do not like fantasy bookings because of the fact that it can be a little bit outrageous, but I really do believe in what I'm saying, and I do believe it can make the perfect sense if you just do it right, and you just have to make Balor look strong. He cannot lose any match after this match. Like, just have him win constantly. That's my opinion, but hey, that's just me, though. But yeah, that was SmackDown from September 3rd, 2021. Overall thoughts on the show, I thought this was a pretty good show. It was not really, an amazing show, but that match with Roman Reigns and Finn Balor, really got me hooked, and I'm really excited to see what happens next week on SmackDown and MSG. My Raw reviews are going to be coming back as well. Yes, I missed Raw for the past 2 weeks because of my schedule, but thankfully it's Labor Day and I have off, so that's great. So, the best thing is I'm going to be bringing back my Raw reviews, and from the weeks on in, I'm going to be bringing back my Raw reviews as well. But, yeah, that was SmackDown. Please like. Oh, no, and I also forgot to mention All Out is tomorrow night. I know I'm excited. I know you are. So be on the lookout for my AEW All Out review. Most likely I'm going to be uploading that review on Monday. So be on the lookout for that review right here on the channel. And, yeah, please like, subscribe, comment down below. Push that bell for notifications, and follow me on social media on Instagram and Twitter. Be on the lookout for my future reviews. And this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc Podcast. Signing out.